Hello and welcome. My name is Tatum Potter, and I am the owner and operator of Healing Breath Wellness in Whitby, Ontario. I would like to say a heartfelt thank you to Fiona for inviting me to participate in her New Moon event, as well as send a shout out to all of the amazing facilitators that you've seen today. A little bit about me. Like I said, my name is Tatum. I am the owner and operator of Healing Breath Wellness. I am a certified yoga teacher, Karuna Reiki master, and Empath. And today I want to talk to you a little bit about being an empath in the current state of the world. I run a weekly empath class, and we kind of check in with each other every week to see how everybody's doing. Very often we get caught up in the chaos of what's going on around us, and we don't stop and take a minute to evaluate where we are at ourselves. And when I say where you're at, what I mean by that is physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Where are you at? And what I like to use is what I call an emotional barometer. And so 0 being fear, 10 being love. Where am I today on my emotional barometer? And what does that feel like to me? So when I kind of check in with myself, I can say, okay, I'm at a solid 8 today. And a solid 8 means that my body is feeling good. Mentally, I feel strong. Emotionally, I know exactly where I'm sitting in my emotions. And spiritually, I'm connected to the universe. And so when I look at my emotional barometer, for me in particular, I know that when I am kind of dipping down into around about a 5, that's overwhelm for me. And what overwhelm looks like and feels like to me is that my body doesn't feel quite right. My hips tend to hurt, my lower back hurts. And I'm thinking on Sunday night, how am I going to fit in everything I need to fit in for the week? Whether that's taking the kids to golf or teaching yoga classes, or what am I going to do for empath class? If I'm already starting to think about those things on Sunday night, I'm slipping down into overwhelm. And that for me is a trigger that I need to stop and kind of reevaluate and recalculate what's going on in my life that I'm sitting solidly in overwhelm. And so I tend to catch myself when I'm at a 5, because I know overwhelm so well. And then I look at what's going on, and I look at what I can do to raise my vibration or raise my emotional barometer up to a 7 or an 8, which is where I really, really want to be. I kind of want to be an 8 and above. But if I'm sitting at a 5, generally speaking, I could get myself to a 7 pretty easily. 8 takes maybe a couple days of work. And so the things that I do that raise my vibration are yoga, are Reiki, are connecting with particular people that I know I can kind of verbally dish out what's going on, and they can help me get back to my center. I have a lot of tools that I use, a lot of crystals that I use, but Reiki and meditation for me are just such an incredible gift that I've found in my life. And when I started on this journey about 5 or 6 years ago, well, let me take that step. Let me take a step back here for a minute. So about 5 or 6 years ago, I started on my spiritual journey. It had been kind of niggling at me for a little while, but I kept on ignoring it. And why I am so in tune with my emotional barometer is because I spent years lying to myself and to others about where I was at, how I was doing. People would ask me how I was doing, and inside I was like, how can you even be asking me that? I'm horrible. And I would smile and I would say, I'm fine. And when you're not honest with yourself about where you're at or how you're feeling, that has an effect on your cellular memory. And unfortunately, I had to learn that lesson the hard way. So in 2014, I got what's known as guttate psoriasis. I hope that you can see that okay. So all of those little spots all over my body felt like fire ants were biting me. And so I was over 97% covered in guttate psoriasis, and it was agonizing. I didn't sleep. I couldn't function as a parent. My husband was kind of left out all on his own to figure out things with our kids because I was in agonizing pain every single day. And what I've learned over the years is that that was a direct result of me lying to myself. And I did that for a good solid 2 years before I ended up with the guttate psoriasis. And like any time that somebody would say to me, how are you doing? I would say that I was fine, but I knew that I was lying to myself. I was not fine. And I've come to realize that the universe was speaking to me during that time. And what I mean by that is, you know, I would get those feelings of, you're not okay. You need to shift. You need to do something. And I ignored it because I was so stuck in myself and what I was doing that I couldn't see past myself or be connected with the universe around me. And I felt raw all the time. Anytime I was out in public with people, I would feel sick for days afterwards because as an empath, I was taking on their energy. So not only was I not good, I was also attracting energy to me that wasn't good either. And it was a really painful lesson that I had to learn and go through. But the beauty of that lesson is that it knocked me right to the ground. And I want to say that it was the best, worst thing that ever happened to me. Did it take me time to claw my way back up? Absolutely. But every step of the way, that work was well worth doing. And when you get knocked to the ground and you've kind of hit rock bottom, it allows you this time of beauty to create a solid foundation that you know will hold you, that you know you're safe, that you're secure, that you're supported. And as you build this solid foundation, you begin to find your reconnection to the universe, to yourself, to others. And during this time, I really began to reconnect to my yoga practice. So I decided to become a yoga teacher during that time. And what I realized that I really loved about yoga was that it engaged ego in a space where I could bring soul and ego together as one. Yoga actually means to unite or unify. And so doing the physical postures or asana would actually engage ego so soul could come up and start to have a voice, which soul hadn't had a voice for me in a really long time, because every time soul spoke, I just kind of went, yeah, I don't have time right now, maybe later. And later came because it knocked me off my feet. And so with my emotional barometer, I can be more honest with where I'm at. If I'm a 3, why am I a 3? What's going on in my life that is causing me to have slipped below overwhelm? A 3 for me in particular looks like isolation. I stop talking to friends. I stop interacting with people. I don't feel good about my interactions with my husband and my family. That's what a 3 looks like for me. And I know that because I spent the time and was really honest about my emotional barometer, what the emotions were, how they felt in my body. So when things like this come up, I don't end up, usually, I don't end up at a 3. I don't end up at a 1. I don't end up in a 0 where fear and anxiety and depression set in, which is where I was at 5 or 6 years ago. I tend to catch myself at a 5 now. And what a beautiful place that is when you've lived with depression, anxiety, and complete fear every single day, that I've created a tool to allow myself to stay at a 5 or higher. I don't think I'll ever get down to a 0 again, because as I went through this journey, I took the time to cultivate the tools and the awareness of the things that raise my vibration. And so all of the work that I do at Healing Breath Wellness is all centered around love and joyfulness. Joyfulness is how I interact with other people, whether that's through laughter, whether that's through whatever we're doing. I put the energy of joy into any interaction that I have with other people. My guiding principle is absolutely love. If I'm walking into something and it's not in the energy of love, I don't do it. I walk the other way. And it's really allowed me to clear the path on where I want to be in this life, who I want to be in this life, how I want to interact with other people. And so, like I said, when I became a yoga teacher, it allowed soul and ego the space to come into unity. And you hear a lot of spiritual, no, I don't want to say that. You do tend to hear a lot of people, though, that like put ego aside and da 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 da. Well, ego and soul both have a purpose in your life, and you want to have balance between those two things. You don't want to be so far into soul that you don't interact with the physical realm, which is ego. And so you want to bring those two pieces of yourself into unity, into flow. And when you have that yin and yang energy balanced within yourself, you're connected to the universe around you. Everything on this planet is vibration and frequency. And so I know with my emotional barometer where I am in my frequency, what frequency I'm attracting to me, what frequency I'm putting out, because I know how my vibration and frequency feels when I'm in each of those emotions. And I do think that everyone's emotional barometer will be completely different depending on who you are. I think that everybody across the board has a 0 up to, well, 0 being fear, 10 being love. And then it really depends on what emotions you connect with in between there of what your markers are going to be. And when you have this awareness, it allows you to really truly connect with yourself, but be honest with yourself. And one of the teachings in yoga is satya, and satya is honesty. Being honest about where you're at is so incredibly important. And if somebody says to you, how are you? And you're horrible, you don't have to reply by saying, oh, I'm horrible. But you could reply with something like, I'm working towards being okay. Chances are they're not going to catch that working towards being okay. They're not going to ask you for more details. They'll just hear the, okay part and move along. Or if they ask you, you could say, oh, how are you? Rather than actually answering them as to how you are. Because you don't want to end up with psoriasis all over your body. The universe might speak to you differently than it spoke to me, but it was a really, truly uncomfortable lesson that I had to move through. And I think that all of this is so important when we're looking at new moon energy in particular, because as many of you know, new moon energy is all about manifesting what you want to move towards, the energy that you want to create. And when we create with awareness and when we create with honesty, we're able to really tune into what we want and who we want to be. And that's such an amazing place to be. So if, you know, think about what your perfect world looks like. If that's working from home, or if that's working out of the house, or whatever that looks like for you. Honesty is the key in that, and will help you to create those things. And you may think, oh, it's not possible. Well, if you're moving towards that and you're in tune with the frequency of the world around you, you're going to begin to draw to you that like energy. And so you want to be aware of where your frequency and vibration is at. And so, like I said, everything that I do is with the energy of love, and it's guided by the principles of what I feel love is. And so even if I make a mistake, that's okay, because I was doing it from a place of love. And I might think, oh, I'm creating this with the energy of love, and it doesn't pan out exactly the way that I think it's going to be. But I've moved into a space of trust with the universe that very often I say, I want this or even better, because it could be even better than my present knowledge is. So as I'm manifesting, as I'm moving towards things, I am honest with myself that I don't know everything. I don't have all the answers that the universe has for me. And so I allow myself to trust in the universe and know that it's going to provide for me even maybe better than what I expected. And through all of this, the pandemic and everything, I think there's a lot of empaths that are struggling with their emotions, because the vibration of the collective right now, a lot of people are in fear. A lot of people are in this place where they've spent their entire lives not being honest with their emotions, and all of a sudden they're being faced with them. And what do you do with that when you're faced with your emotions for the first time, and you've got nowhere to hide from that? You have nothing that that can preoccupy you. And so a lot of people, not only empaths, but everyone is feeling that. But then empaths feel the emotions of others. And a lot of conversations that I've had recently with empaths of, well, I'm home, I shouldn't be feeling this. Well, no, it's a lot of emotion right now that's happening in the world. And so number one, be honest with yourself. Do you know your own emotions? Do you know what's yours and what somebody else's? And I think as an empath, that is the number one important thing, because if you don't know yourself, you don't know whether the emotions that you're holding are yours or somebody else's. So start by taking the time to get to know, number one, what type of empaths you are, what energies you move through, whether you're an emotional empath, a physical empath, geomantic empath. There's so many different kinds of empaths. So I think that it's important to know what type of empath you are. And then on top of that, to know yourself, know the pains in your body. Because if you're a physical empath, I've had empaths where they've been holding pain of other people for years, and they had no idea that that pain in their leg or in their big toe was actually somebody else's. And they've been holding it for years, not even knowing that it wasn't even theirs. So start to get to know yourself and be really honest, engage with the yogic principle of Satya. Be honest with yourself about what's yours and what's potentially somebody else's. If you're not sure about those things, then connect with a guide or a teacher, maybe somebody that you've seen on the Healing House School event today. If somebody has really engaged you and you're really intrigued by them, reach out to them, because they could be your person, or they could know somebody who is your person, who will be able to guide you and teach you through these things. And if you're struggling, reach out to somebody. I know a lot of energy practitioners, people who have worked in energy medicine for years, and a lot of us have said that we felt this coming for a long time. And, you know, some of the things that we've gone through over the past couple of years, we were kind of like, why is this happening? Or what is this trying to teach me, more importantly? And now we're realizing why that is and what the importance of it was, because at least for me, it taught me the lessons that I needed to learn in order to help guide, teach, and heal other people through this time. And so I can honestly say that through this entire pandemic, I've been really good, and really like at a solid 8 or 9. And I keep saying to people, like, I'm kind of surprised, because I've always thought that I was a really like people person. Like, I needed interaction with people, and I'm like, holy cow, I am the most antisocial person on the planet, because I have loved every minute of being at home. But I've also been really, really busy with clients and you know, yoga classes and groups that I run every week, because people are in the state of kind of moving through their awareness right now and getting to know themselves for the first time. So if you're getting to know yourself for the first time, allow yourself to be there. Allow yourself to, as my kids would say, feel the feels. If you're feeling guilty, if you're feeling angry, if you're feeling despair, be honest about that. Be honest about your emotions, but don't stay there. Find a way to shift out of them. Find your people that will help you with this, with no judgment. And they are out there. They're all over the place. There's so many. I used to think, like, holy cow, Durham region probably has more natural health practitioners than anyone else on the planet. And you know, through this, I keep thinking, like, how lucky are we that we have so many people that are aware. And so there are people that are out there that can help you through these things if you need them. And so start to engage with yourself and get curious about where you are. And where that might start for you is maybe yoga. If you can't quiet the mind, if there's so much chatter going on, there are amazing yoga classes right now online that you can take. So start to engage ego in a creative, productive way. Try a yoga class that allows the physical asanas to engage the ego, where soul can start to come up and have an equal voice, because that's where kind of the sweet spot is. That's where you want to live. And then if you're kind of past that, you do yoga already, well, then start to try to engage in a meditation. I love the saying, and I think it was Deepak Chopra that said it. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I'm pretty sure. And he said, this is loose, so stay with me here. Basically, that prayer is you speaking to God, and meditation is creating the space to allow him to answer. And in my experience, that is so incredibly true, that if ego is chattering at me so much, I go into a meditative space, and it allows me to really connect with soul, really connect with the universe around me, and kind of creates the space to allow me to delve into myself. And then Reiki is just the most healing modality that I've come into contact with. I've done so much studying around Reiki, and I think as an empath, you naturally speak energy, you naturally know energy, you kind of know the way it communicates and feels, you feel the emotions of a room, things like that. And so Reiki is kind of that intellectual explaining of energy. So it moves you into this beautiful space of not only speaking the language of energy, but also knowing the language of energy in an intellectual manner. And so if you've never done a Reiki class, try a Reiki class, because they are incredible, and it allows you to clear away all of the cords of attachments that maybe you've established knowingly or unknowingly with other people. There's just so many tools that you can tap into right now. And like I said, if you're not sure of where to go or what your next step is, reach out to one of the facilitators on this new moon adventure that you've been on today, because chances are there's going to be somebody here that can help. So if you have any questions, any comments or ideas, I will do my best to connect with everyone personally that I can. And I thank you for your time and spending the day with us today. So thank you so much. Again, my name is Tatum Potter, and I am the owner and operator of Healing Breath Wellness in Whitby, Ontario. And if you have any questions, I would be honored to answer anything that you might have. I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day, and thank you so much for joining me. Namaste.